Hi everyone, and here is the first lecture that we're going to be covering today, which is paraphrasing. This is a very important lesson to cover, as you will be constantly doing this throughout your university and work life. So the word paraphrase comes from the Greek paraphrasis, meaning to, well, literally to take other words and to tell other words. And the point of paraphrasing is that you want to take essentially the main meaning from the text and restate it in your own words without copying and pasting. So this is a problem that many students face, and it's quite a tricky thing to do, and it takes time to get used to it. But in this short video today, which will only be hopefully less than 5 minutes, I'll take you through the very basic stages of paraphrasing, and then we'll do a little bit more practice in the tutorial next week. Okay, so these are our aims today in this lecture, and there are 5 kind of basic principles to paraphrasing. And these individually, they do not make a perfect paraphrased sentence, but together they do. So let's look at the various stages of paraphrasing. So the first and the simple way to do it is just to change a single word. Very, very, very easy. So in the example at the top, the movie was good, the movie was excellent. Is this a perfectly paraphrased sentence? No. But is this a start? Yes. So the idea we could change these words here from dependence to reliance on. Again, this is not a perfect paraphrase sentence, but we're getting there. We're starting to work on this. Pick out single words and use a synonym to replace it. Sometimes you have to change the structure of the sentence. Number 2 is another basic way as well, just to change numerous words in the sentence. So as in the example here, as the internet becomes more widespread, numerous people rely more and more on their smartphones. So now we're actually changing 3 words. And let's have a look what we can change them to. Popular, many, and depend. Let's go back. More popular, numerous to many, people to depend. Okay? Again, is this a perfect paraphrase sentence? No. But is this a good start and a good way of understanding how to do it? Yes, it is. Okay? Let's look at the next way now. So we've looked at single words, multiple words. Let's look at changing the voice. Changing the voice means changing from active to passive or passive to active. To give an example of this, I handed my homework in late is the active voice. And the next sentence, my homework was handed in late. That's called passive voice. It's called passive because we don't know who handed in the work. In the first sentence, I did. But who handed in the work late in the second one, we don't know. So we have an example sentence here. In this essay, I will discuss the advantages and disadvantages of studying abroad. That's the active voice. But we can change this to the passive. The advantages and disadvantages of studying abroad will be discussed in this essay. This, by the way, is a thesis statement that you can use in your essays. So, for example, the strengths and weaknesses of this video on animal rights will be critiqued in this essay. So changing the voice, again, is a nice way of paraphrasing the sentence. Changing from active to passive or passive to active. Okay, 2 more ways to do it now. And this one here, we're looking at changing nouns to verbs or verbs to nouns. So the class gave a presentation of their project. The class presented their project. So we've changed the noun here, presentation, to the verb presented. Is it a perfect paraphrase sentence again? No, it's not, but we're getting there. Let's look at the example below. There is a need for an assessment of the student's spoken proficiency. There is a need to assess the student's spoken proficiency. Sorry, I made a typo over there. I put assess of. It should not be that. Okay, so again, a nice way of changing something simple in the text. Not just synonyms and synonyms of words. You can change the voice, and you can change nouns to verbs and verbs to nouns. If you use nouns, it sounds a little more formal. But if you use verbs, it's okay too, but it sounds a little more casual then. The final way we're going to look at in this one here is just to link the sentences together. This is a very simple example. The class was cancelled, the haze continued to worsen. So we can link these 2 ideas together. And even though it's a very simple idea, it just gives us examples of what we can do. As the haze continued to worsen, the class was cancelled, or the class was cancelled because the haze continued to worsen. Again, this is a very simple sentence, but we can still use this for larger, more complex sentences. The example below, the new film has too much violence. I don't want to see it. The new film has too much violence, so I don't want to see it. I realize these are very easy examples, but the best way to learn is to look at something very simple first, and then that is the groundwork for what you want to do. If you can do the simple sentences, it makes it easier to do the more difficult sentences because the structure is the same. So, is this paraphrasing? No, it's not. But by adding all these elements together, changing the words, changing single words, changing multiple words, changing nouns, the voice, linking sentences, we are able to start paraphrasing. But we have to compare and we have to bring all these elements together when we do it. Here's a simple example here, just to finish off this very, very simple lecture today. So the original text at the top says large-scale cheating has been uncovered over the last year at some of the nation's most competitive schools. So we've got paraphrase version number 1. Major cheating was uncovered last year in the country's top schools, which is okay, or it was exposed that cheating had occurred at a number of top schools in America. Again, they're both, the one in the middle is a little too similar to the top, and the one at the bottom is similar too because it's such a small sentence, but it's a little bit better. You can see that I've changed the voice from active, we've changed the voice in both of them from active to passive. We've lifted out words such as uncovered or occurred or exposed as well. Go into Google and just type in the word you want plus synonym will give you a lot of nice examples to look with. Okay, here's one more. It's slightly longer, this one. Usually a paraphrase sentence is usually about the same length as the original, but often it's difficult to do that. So the first one talks about Wikipedia and the accomplishments that they've made. And the paraphrase version 1, within 10 years, Wikipedia has achieved some amazing goals, in excess of 3.5 million stories in English, done over 250 languages, no problem. As the middle one, as you can see, it's quite similar to the one previously. It's not too bad. I don't know if Turnitin would pick this up, actually. I'm not sure. But to be safe, I'd go with paraphrase version 2. Although Wikipedia has made many accomplishments in the last decade, changed 10 years to decade, such as the publishing of almost 4 million articles, the issue that they currently face is that over 80% of the contributors are male. As you can see in this one here, I've decided to flip it from 15% female to flip it to the 85% of men. The meaning is still the same, and the idea is still the same, except it's paraphrased in a much nicer way, and Turnitin is much less likely to pick up on paraphrase version 2. But number 1, you might be okay, you might not. Okay, so paraphrasing involves recounting a source's primary material in words that are different than the original. It just means keep the idea the same, but change the words. It is essential in paraphrasing to still communicate the central idea of the words, passage, or text in question. And this is very, very, very important too. There's no use paraphrasing something if you change the meaning of it. That's not paraphrasing then. So that's why, even though you might get blogs and things that summarize research from reliable sources, you still have to go back and check it, just in case they've paraphrased it in a way that's not accurate to the original. This is a skill, and it takes a long time. I still find challenges in paraphrasing work, and sometimes I can't do it. If a piece of writing it's difficult to paraphrase a piece of writing, and sometimes it isn't because it says everything you need in the sentence. Do the best thing you can do, which is to put quotation marks and put the reference after it. But you won't be able to do that every single paragraph, so sometimes you will have to paraphrase. Again, it's a skill, and it takes time. So just start practicing with the critical review essay, and you'll have more practice in this in the tutorial next week. Okay, thank you. This has been an introduction to paraphrasing. If you go to Times, there is a simple worksheet there to kind of get to the grips of the basics of changing single words, multiple words, the voice. It's optional if you want to do it. It's up to you, but it's good practice. Then in the class next week, we're going to practice paraphrasing larger paragraphs. So I do recommend, if this is new for you, to try the worksheet that has been uploaded to Times. It's called an Introduction to Paraphrasing. Okay, thank you very much.